if an attack has happened in a place more than 3 times, we need to question what's happening to the police in that area.
Okay, let me say this, and it's important I say it, I say it as it is. The kind of security challenges you're having in Nigeria is one that goes beyond the pay grade of the Nigerian police or any form of policing system anywhere in the world. You see, police, or policing essentially, is simply to ensure or enforce law and order in an atmosphere of normal security environment. That is where you have some level of normalcy. So the police force comes in to enforce law and order. But you have insurgency, but you have insurrection, but you have banditry on the scale as we have in Nigeria, but you have identity-based conflicts, where one group is targeted almost on a genocidal proportion as we have in Nigeria. The work of the police is actually essentially suspended as a state of emergency, where a much more formidable force of the state is deployed. So for instance, in the United States, we have mass shooting of certain proportions sometimes. You see the deployment of the National Guard to support the police, because at this time, the police force is not expected to be able to contain such levels of unforeseen challenges. And that is why I do not think that the creation of state police alone will solve the problem of security in Nigeria. Nigeria is a country at war with itself. The scale of killings that takes place in Nigeria is beyond just criminality and urban crime that the police can handle. And I have said something severally. When you have such levels of insecurity as we have it in Nigeria today, there are 2 solutions to it, two broad solutions. First, you must deal with the root causes of some of these problems so that you do not have a problem that is geometrically progressing while you are just able to contain some of it. What do I mean? Boko Haram insurgency, for instance, is a religiously motivated conflict. And we must begin to solve the ideological component of that insurgency in order to reduce the tendency of new recruits into the rank and file of the insurgent group. Now, if you look at banditry is a cultural problem. We must also interrogate the culture behind banditry and find a way of solving that problem in a way that puts a lasting solution to it. This is trying to attack the problem from the root causes, for instance. Now, if you look at the other side of it, I've always said that to resolve the problem of banditry, of course, kidnapping, highway armed robbery, and all of that, we must now put communities at the forefront of self-defense. Communities must now form the first line of defense against bandits. You know why? Banditry in Nigeria has become a low-risk but highly profitable criminal enterprise. That is because communities are left largely ungoverned without presence of federal or state security agencies. And so it is easy for bandits to go into communities and just haul people into the forest. And after a few phone calls, billions of naira exchange hands, and they are released. So to make this enterprise highly risky and low in profit will now be to enforce, or should I say enhance, the self-defense capabilities of communities that are at the front lines of banditry. And to do this in an organized manner, I have recommended that, look, a volunteer unit be created in the Civil Defense Corps. Because among all of the arms, all of the security agencies in Nigeria, the Civil Defense Corps comes closest to the Nigeria's equivalent of the National Guard in the United States of America. So create a volunteer unit in the civil defense. We are responsible members of communities affected by banditry can be organized into a volunteer unit, but with the right training now and the right caliber of arms issued to them to safeguard their communities and be the first line of response when attacks come. The only difference should be that state governments should be the ones responsible for the funding of this unit, while the professional training, the organization remains with the federal authorities to prevent abuse. So
not this forest guard that we're using now?
I don't think it's adequate. The civil defense will incorporate people from communities. In fact, already the civil defense has a mandate as the premier security agency for Safe Schools Initiative.
Yes.
So simply expand that mandate to include markets, highways, farmland, and homelands. And these people don't do anything, just stay in your various communities. When there is an attack by bandits, somebody should be able to return fire for fire, pending when conventional forces come. Now, if the troop numbers, the increase in these numbers should be a strain on federal authorities, let participating states bear the responsibility for this. They can now judiciously deploy their security votes to fund these units. It is the normal practice all over the world when countries are at war either with external enemies or domestic enemies. It's in this case, we are at war with domestic enemies. We must be able to prepare communities. So when the bandit now knows that going to a community is risky, you're likely going to receive fire for fire. It becomes a high-risk enterprise that no longer yields the kind of profit it is yielding. And because it's a cultural problem, essentially, lacking ideology, having nothing to do with any sophisticated thinking or demand, people will now learn to look for other businesses to do other than banditry.